Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we're going to be going over the final Ravens injury report leading up to the game on Sunday. Obviously, today is Friday, which means it is the final day of Ravens practice before the game on Sunday. Obviously, today we're going to go over the final injury report, what the team is going to be looking like. There's some good news, there's some bad news that we'll go over in just a second. But we're going to be doing the injury report stuff today, talking about what the team might look like for the game on Sunday. And then tomorrow we're going to be doing the final game preview, or the official game preview before the game on Sunday. And then obviously on Sunday we're going to go over the game. So again, every single week, every single Ravens week, we always have these three major key days every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Most of the time on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, at least whenever they do play. Because this is the final Ravens week before their bye. They do have a bye week in week 7, so we're still going to be going over stuff throughout the bye week. I'm sure we're going to get some news and some reports throughout the bye week that we're going to be able to go over. But for right now, obviously 2 more days until the final game before the bye week in week 6. Against the Rams. Again, the Ravens are underdogs in this game once again because there will be no Lamar Jackson. I'll just say that right now. But they are going to be missing some players, but they also do have a lot of players returning that weren't playing last week. So let's just go over this injury report. So going over this injury report, again, this is the final injury report of the week. Obviously, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday practices are all done. There was quite a few players on the injury report heading into the week, but as what John Harbaugh said, he said that we were going to be more healthy and more available heading into this game, much more than we were last week against the Rams. Now, we still do have 6 players ruled out in this game, and there's some very key players in this game that are ruled out. That we'll go over in just 1 second, but there's only one player that is questionable, but then everybody else is going to be active and good to go. So the injury report is looking a lot better than it did last week, especially on the defensive end. So going over the players real quick that were on the injury report to start the week that we already went over in the last episode, let's just go over the players that are going to be available and playing in this game on Sunday. So the first player, Ben Cleveland, he got put on the injury report on Thursday for a personal issue. Didn't play on Thursday, but he did get a full practice in today, so he will be available, which is good because we might need him sometimes, so we're going to shift in, Falele, Ben Cleveland, Voorhees, all that stuff. So if we're going to shift around guys, he's going to be ready to go, so Ben Cleveland's going to be good. The next player that is going to be playing this week is Kyle Hamilton, and this is by far the biggest name and most important name that is going to be available this week for the Ravens that wasn't available last week. So Kyle Hamilton, we understand how good of a player he is. He was out last week with a groin injury, but this week he was able to get a limited practice in on Wednesday, and then he got back-to-back full practices in yesterday and today. So Kyle Hamilton is going to be good to go, so that is very, very good news. The next player that is going to be returning that's very important, that I don't think anybody really expected him to come back, but that's Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey is somebody who we expected not to play until after the bye week. Much like Roquan Smith, much like Lamar Jackson, we thought that those 3 guys were going to be 3 guys that came back after the bye week. And safe to say, Marlon Humphrey, I guess, was ahead of schedule here because he didn't practice on Wednesday, which wasn't a surprise because, again, everybody thought that he was going to be out this week and he was going to be fully returning after the bye week. But Marlon Humphrey out on Wednesday, then got in a limited practice in on Thursday, so I was like, okay, hold on, like Marlon Humphrey's at practice, he said he felt good, and then he got in a full practice today, and he's officially active for the game on Sunday, so a very big surprise to see Marlon Humphrey ahead of schedule, much like Calvin Noy was last week when he was kind of ahead of schedule. Marlon Humphrey is back and ready to go, so that's good news. Again, Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith were 2 of the big guys who were supposed to be out for an extended period of time. But Marlon Humphrey's injury really only took him out for 1 game. So he's back and ready to go for tomorrow. I don't know if he's going to be on some sort of snap limit, but he is ready to go. Did get into full practice, so he should be 100% ready to go. So shout out to Marlon Humphrey for getting ready, for being ahead of schedule, and for playing in this game on Sunday. So because we're really going to need him. I mean, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, they have some incredible. They have, in my opinion, you can argue the best receiving duo in football right now on the Rams. So having any sort of secondary help, guys like Kyle Hamilton, guys like Marlon Humphrey, is really going to help out a lot. The next player that is going to be available is Joseph Noteboom, someone who is one of our backup tackles. He kind of filled in for Ronnie Stanley throughout the week. So Joseph Noteboom is going to be playing, which is good. Roger Rosengarten, who is dealing with a knee injury on Wednesday, did get in back-to-back full practices, so he should be good to go. So Roger Rosengarten is back. And then the last name that is available to play on Sunday, the last name that is available is someone who is extremely important. We understand how important he is over the years, and that's Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie Stanley is back. If y'all don't remember, against the Chiefs, he was questionable against the Chiefs, but he was then active. He only played one drive before he kind of re-aggravated the ankle injury. Then he was out last week, but he is officially active this week after getting back-to-back full practices. So Ronnie Stanley is back, and Roger Rosengarten is good to go. So both of the tackles are good. Obviously, the guards are good as well. Even though they're not playing well, the full offensive line should be healthy in this game, which is very, very good news. So Ronnie Stanley is back and ready to go. So, again, guys like Ronnie Stanley, guys like Marlon Humphrey, guys like Kyle Hamilton, all of those injuries coming back are huge because we didn't have any of those three players last week against the Texans. So that is huge. The next thing that I want to go over is the one player that is questionable in this game. So this was kind of a surprise injury that happened on Wednesday, but it wasn't considered to be serious, but it is looking a little bit odd right now just because it was back-to-back limited practices. He wasn't able to get in a full practice throughout the week, and there still is a lot of optimism that he should be ready to go. It would kind of be a surprise if he didn't play, but that's Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers was on the injury report on Wednesday with a shoulder injury. He said in his media interview afterwards that it's not anything too serious, but then he got in a limited practice on Thursday and a limited practice on Friday, so he should be good to go. He didn't get in a full practice, but he also didn't get in a DNP, so Zay Flowers should be good to go for this game. Might be on a little bit of a snap limit. Hopefully he is fine. He just got to be a little bit careful where he's getting hit this week. But Zay Flowers is questionable for this game, but he should be good to go. So as I said again, there's a lot of players, Zay Flowers, who obviously, we didn't expect him to get injured, but he should be good to go. But again, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, and Ronnie Stanley, all those guys being back are going to be really, really big for us and can make some big plays. Obviously, Ronnie Stanley just giving Cooper Rush more time, or Tyler Huntley more time, and then Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, we understand that they can make plays at any time on the defensive end. Even though the scheme might be bad, you're kind of just relying on their personal skill set. So now going over the players that are officially ruled out for this week. We do have some players that are ruled out. We have 6 players, in fact, that are ruled out for this game. The first one being Chidobe Awuzie. He's been out the past couple of weeks, but the good news is that he did get in a limited practice today, so he did return to practice for the first time in a couple of weeks today. So that is good to see. It's good to see Awuzie out there. Again, he's just another depth corner who has made some, decent plays this year. Even though the defense as a whole has been bad, especially in week 1, Chidobe Awuzie made some good plays, but he did get in a limited practice, so he should be good to go after the bye week because he got in that limited practice, but he's officially out for this game. Next up, Lamar Jackson is out, has not practiced in, 6 straight practices, didn't practice all last week, didn't practice all this week. John Harbaugh kept kind of, leaving the media on like a cliffhanger, not really saying the full status of Lamar. But Lamar Jackson is going to be out, no surprise there. We all knew that he was probably going to be out this game and that his return was going to most likely be after the bye week. Make sure he's 100% fully healthy. I'm sure if it was up to Lamar Jackson, he would want to play right now, but again, when you have a superstar franchise quarterback like him, of how important he is to this team, obviously you can see how we are without him. I mean, we're 4-11 without him since he's been on the team. But Lamar Jackson with a hamstring injury, he is not going to be playing. So it's going to be Cooper Rush getting the start. John Harbaugh had confirmed it. But if Cooper Rush starts doing bad, we will, probably switch it up to Tyler Huntley. I'm sure that the leash for Cooper Rush is not long in this game at all. So Lamar Jackson not playing. Hopefully he doesn't suffer a setback throughout this bye or throughout this week, and hopefully he'll be good to go for week 8. Because our bye week's in week 7, we return in week 8 against the Bears, so hopefully Lamar will be good to go against them, and then we can kind of have our second half comeback of the year after the bye, which we'll talk about a lot more next week as well, kind of looking towards the rest of the year, because it is looking very promising the rest of the year in terms of injuries coming back and also in terms of the strength of the schedule. Next up is Emory Jones Jr., who is out again. He got in full practices pretty much all last week after we activated him from the injury report, and then he got in full practices all this week, but he's still not playing. It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit concerning because he's been on the injury report just because he's kind of like, he came back from injury reserve and like came back to practice off of injury reserve, and he's still not being active even though he's got in a lot of full practices. I don't know if the coaching staff is like not seeing something right, or they just don't want to have him like risk him out there. But Emory Jones Jr., they view him as a tackle and they view him as a guard. Like, why not have Emory Jones out there like rotating guard positions with Voorhees and Falele if things aren't working with Voorhees and Falele? Because they haven't really been working this year with those guys. So Voorhees, you can swap out Voorhees for Emory Jones. You can swap out Falele for Emory Jones. Like, give the kid some reps, man. But it must be something that, we all don't know. He's gotten in full practices, but he's still not playing. It's a little bit odd, a little bit concerning. But hopefully he'll be good to go fully after the bye. I'm sure it's just because he's a rookie and he hasn't really, he was out on injured, reserve. So they're just trying to make sure he's 100% good to go. But Emory Jones hopefully will be good to go after the bye, but he is out this week. Next up is Pat Ricard, who is not playing. This isn't necessarily a surprise, but there is some really good news with Pat Ricard because he did return to practice on Thursday and Friday. He got in a limited practice on Thursday, a limited practice on Friday, which really does open up the door to a Week 8 return after the bye week. Again, I'm saying a lot of these guys are going to come back after the bye, but that's been kind of the expectation and goal, per John Harbaugh and per just a lot of the people talking about it. A lot of these injuries are supposed to come back after the bye week. That's why a second half comeback into this season after the bye week is still very possible, and that's why I don't think that it's the best idea to officially rule out the Ravens season, even if they do lose tomorrow. Even if they do lose on Sunday. I still do think it's possible to make some noise in the second half of the season. And, Lamar Jackson and these guys coming back from injury can drag us to victory from there. But Pat Ricard should be good to go in Week 8. He's going to have, obviously, the rest of this week. He's going to have the full bye week and, obviously, next week to make sure he's good to go. So, Pat Ricard should be good to go. He got in some limited practices. It's nice to see him return from practice finally. He hasn't practiced all year until yesterday, so it's nice to see him go out there and get some practices in, and hopefully he'll be back for Week 8. Next up is Roquan Smith. He didn't practice all last week or all this week. Very same thing with Lamar Jackson. Both of them actually dealing with the same injury. I think Roquan's is a little bit more serious, but with Lamar, you just want to be more careful because, again, it's your franchise quarterback. But Roquan Smith is out this week. Again, another player who is expected to be back after the bye week, much like how Marlon Humphrey was going to be. Obviously, Marlon Humphrey's ahead of schedule. He's going to end up playing on Sunday, but Roquan Smith, Pat Ricard, Lamar Jackson, Chidobe Awuzie, all these guys expected to come back after the bye week. Roquan Smith is just kind of in the same boat with those guys. And then the final guy not playing on Sunday officially is Devontae Walker with the oblique injury. Got in some limited practices throughout the week, but didn't practice today, and he's officially out for Sunday. Again, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, whatever you want to say he is. Just some depth at receiver going to be gone. Obviously, we know Devontae has made some big plays this year. I think he has 3 touchdown catches, has had some big catches as well. But this is what the final injury report is looking like. 6 players out, 1 player questionable that's probably going to play, and then everyone else is good to go. So looking a lot more healthy, looking a lot better. Our chances of winning this week, I'm not going to say are higher because we are playing a way better team in the Rams than the Texans. If this was our injury report last week, I think we would have had a lot better of a chance. But again, we're playing the Rams. They're an extremely good team. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, Matt Stafford. They have an incredible, incredible offense, a very high-powered offense. And we have a defense who's dealing with some injuries, but guys like Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton are coming back for this defense, which is very, very good news. And then also, obviously, we don't have Lamar Jackson, so our offense is not going to be looking great. And the Rams' defense is pretty good. The Texans' defense is definitely better than the Rams' defense, but the Rams' offense is definitely better than the Texans' offense. So it's kind of like a yin and yang type of situation there. But hopefully this is a little bit more of a competitive game. Do I think deep down in my heart that the Ravens are going to win? I don't know. Again, anything can happen in football. Anybody can be anybody on any certain day. It could literally be anybody's day. But again, just like I said last week when we played the Texans, and we'll talk about it more tomorrow in the game preview, it is really going to come down to Derrick Henry. it's kind of clear that Cooper Rush and the passing is just really not going to work. I mean, Cooper Rush threw 3 interceptions last week. And, I mean, we'll see how, and especially if Zay Flowers doesn't end up playing, it's going to be really cooked. But once again, this offense is going to have to get its running game going for it to open up every other part. That's what this Ravens team has been known for so many years, especially since it got Derrick Henry, especially with Lamar Jackson. I know we're not going to have Lamar Jackson out there, but establishing the run game, getting Derrick Henry those open holes, giving him those running lanes, and letting him just go and take over by himself, alongside the offensive line, of course, if we can get the running game established early, and I said this last week, and obviously, things started off bad and game script happened and whatever, but if this defense, first of all, can just give Rams trouble, and if they can, get them in third and long situations, and if they can just make things uncomfortable for them, and if the pass rush can get home against a Matt Stafford who really can't move, obviously I'm very scared about the secondary because they have 2 elite receivers, but if this defense can just give the Rams some issues and just get some stops is all we're asking. We're just a couple of punts every now and then would be fun. But if this Ravens defense can give the Rams some trouble, and if the Ravens offense can really establish the run game, again, Derrick Henry all day long. If he can get some open running lanes, if he can get going early, our offense can really be flowing. You saw it in the first drive of the game against the Texans. Our offense was kind of flowing. Then we kind of got stuck in the red zone. Then we ended up kicking a field goal, and then it was just over from there. But whether it's Cooper Rush, whether it's Tyler Huntley, again, if it's Tyler Huntley, he's going to be able to use his legs more. So the offense is going to be more like a Lamar-led offense. But hopefully, second weekend with Cooper Rush kind of playing with the starters here, hopefully the offense just looks more complete. Obviously, last week was the first week of the year where we didn't have Lamar, so the offense was kind of a mess. This week, hopefully they expected Lamar to be out, so hopefully the offense just meshes a little bit more well, and everyone's kind of more on the same page this week on the offense. So hopefully the offense does better. Hopefully the run game gets established, and hopefully, we just don't turn the ball over. If Cooper Rush can just limit the turnovers, if we can get the running game going, and we can just give the Rams some trouble on offense, I'm not saying to fully stop them because it's going to be very hard, especially with how our defense is playing, especially with Zach Gore still the defensive coordinator. But just give them some problems and just see what can end up happening. But again, thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow up on Spotify. Also, make sure to click the link in the bio to check out the Twitter and the Instagram. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you can see on your screen all of the names and usernames for all the Twitter, the Spotify, the Instagram, the YouTube, all that stuff. So make sure to give that a follow. Again, make sure to click the link in the bio to check out the Twitter and the Instagram. I post all the time on both of them. On Instagram, I post every single time an episode's out. On Twitter, I post live tweet updates to every sort of news or stuff that happens that gets posted. I always kind of give my initial reaction there before I end up filming the episode. So make sure to give those a follow. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to have the final, or not really the final, but tomorrow we'll have the official game preview. We're gonna go in detail of what we really need to do to have success in this game on Sunday. So that's going to be tomorrow. And then, today we did the final injury report. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great sales day. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see y'all later. Peace out.